Mariners win 6-1. They improve to 72-70 on the season, and they take the first of a 3-game series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Go over the scoring plays. Nothing happens for the first 4 innings. 5th inning, though, Randy Rosarina hits a sacrifice fly to score Victor Robles 1-0 in the middle of the 5th. Mariners get some add-on in the 6th. Dylan Moore homers to left to score J.P. Crawford 3-0 in the middle of the 6th. St. Louis finally gets on the board in the 7th. Jordan Walker homers off Troy Taylor to make it 3-1. Mariners get 2 more? 3 more in the 9th. Math is hard. Big dumper doubles home Mitch Haniger and Julio 5-1. And Luke Raley singles home big dumper 6-1. Mariners win. Your negatives for tonight. I don't know if there's a ton. Troy Taylor didn't look great. Gives up that long homer to Jordan Walker, who has really struggled at the major league level. I still believe in his bat a lot. He's only 22. I think Jordan Walker is going to be a really, really good player. Kind of wonder if he makes sense as a trade target for teams. If the Seattle Mariners wanted to target a guy like that, I would not hate it. I would not hate it, even though the Mariners have no evidence that they can develop a bat like Jordan Walker. I believe in talent. So he didn't look great. The only other negatives that I can think of are J.P. Crawford got hit pretty hard in the shin, and I know he continued. Be curious to see if he's able to go again. And even though J.P. Crawford, who we'll talk about his place in the lineup, has scuffled pretty bad since returning from the injury, it's another depth loss if he can't go. And it doesn't, the fact he was able to stay in the game tells me that it's not a super long-term thing. But yeah. And then the biggest negative, of course, the Houston Astros win. The Houston Astros win, so you're still 4.5 games back. Also, the Royals won, but we'll talk about something else in the positive section. But before we get into all of that, I have to thank Simply Seattle. They provide the very best in Seattle sports gear. Use code MOLLYWOP15, MOLLYWHOP15 to save 15% off of your order. It's a great deal. You just put it in at checkout. If you're thinking, I can't remember that website, I understand. That's not a word. I understand. So just click on the link in the description. Copy and paste that code. Bada boom, bada bing. Thank you so much, Simply Seattle. And thanks to you in advance for shopping at simplyseattle.com. A lot of positives tonight. Julio, 3 hits. Couple, especially that last one, not exactly hit hard. But he's starting to get the results going again. Seen his OPS go up about 40 points over the last 10 games. They need it. Oh boy, do they need it. Not just for this year. You want Julio to end the year on a high note. Yes, he's a 23-year-old. He'll turn 24 a couple days before Christmas. I think it's December 23rd or December 29th, whatever it is. There's no reason for long-term concern, but you'd like him to end hot so that you feel better for yourself. Again, I have all the confidence in the world in Julio Rodriguez long-term, but I need more consistency. And as nice as these reminders can be, I want to see more of I'd love to see a hot start to begin next year. I thought we were going to get one, by the way. I remember he doubled in his very first at bat, and then the power just hasn't come. And the 262 average, defense is really good. Julio Rodriguez is a good baseball player. Big dumper with a couple of RBI. It came in a game that they were leading 4-1, or 3-1, excuse me, made it 5-1. But it's great to see him driving in runs. He's almost assuredly going to get to 100. Well, maybe that's too strong. He's at 89. He's on pace to get to 100. He needs 11 more over these next 20 games. So it's almost exactly on pace for 100. Justin Turner with a couple of knocks. Dylan Moore with the big homer. Just dropping that barrel against southpaws. That's what he does best. J.P. Crawford reaches 3 times. Hopefully he's okay. Actually, I think he reached 4 times, didn't he? Because he walked twice and he was hit by a pitch. So that'll work. And look, Victor Robles went over 3 with a run scored today. I love that they made that lineup change. Victor Robles deserves to lead off for this team. Victor Robles is a better player than JP Crawford right now. Doesn't mean he's a better long-term option, although I think he could be. But I think Victor Robles deserves that lean-up spot. Now, it's worth pointing out Mitch Haniger came in for Victor Robles. So hopefully he's okay too. Because, I should have this memorized or whatever, but I'm pretty sure he was hit by a pitch too. Looking at it right now, doesn't say. Anyway, not that important. I mean, it is, but they can't all be winners, folks. The bullpen outside of Taylor, I thought, did a really nice job. Snyder worked around a hit. Trent Thornton worked around a walk. Job done. Job done. 3 innings of 1-run baseball. You'll take it from your bullpen. You should win games if your bullpen can give you 3 innings of 1-run baseball. Of course, you'd prefer a shutout. But 3 innings of 1-run baseball should get the job done. And it more than got the job done today, in part because the offense was pretty good. By the way, it's 28 runs scored over the last 3. And I understand that 16 weighs heavily in that. But again, if the Mariners can score 6 runs, you're going to win a lot. Most baseball teams are. But when you have the starting pitching that they do, if you can score 6 runs, and this leads perfectly into, man, Bryce Miller was fantastic. Just fantastic. And nice to see him bounce back from his first bad start in a while against the Angels. I think it was 4 2/3 innings of 3-run baseball, and he did not look good doing it. But for the most part, Bryce Miller has been outstanding, really, since the start of July. Something like 6 out of 8 starts now where he's not giving up any more than 2 runs. And his stuff was really good today. Command was good. Issues a couple of walks, but, nothing. Most of the time he was out ahead of guys, and only 4 strikeouts, but I think the stuff was better than that. It's fun to see, by the way, Bryce Miller pitch well in Busch Stadium. Something, I don't know if irony is the right word, but it's nice to see. Even in this unbelievably disappointing season, we'll talk about it in just a sec. Even in this absolutely one of the most disappointing seasons in Seattle Mariner histories so far, there have been some moments that have made you go, okay, there is reason for optimism, not just this year, but in the long term, especially in the long term. Because Bryce Miller and Brian Wu are fantastic. I wonder if some point if they're going to make a Miller and Wu, and it just came to me because it's BM and Be Mature and BW. They've got to do a Mario Wario thing, right? Miller, Wu, Mario, Wario. I sure would. Tells you how my brain works, but I'd be all over that. Bryce Miller has pitched like a frontline starter for a lot of the year. A lot of it. And I have as much confidence in him as anybody right now. I have more confidence in Bryce Miller than Brian Wu over his last 2, just because Brian Wu has given up so much hard contact over the last couple. And yes, Bryce Miller wasn't great in that last one, but look at the results in the previous. He's dropped his ERA almost a run over the last 5 starts, which is not easy to do when you throw a lot of innings. Not 250 innings, but you know what I mean. Okay, so you're 4.5 games back of the Houston Texans. Now, Kansas City was 4.5 games ahead of you, but they win today, and now they are the 5th seed, and Minnesota's the 6th seed. So you're 4.5 games back of Minnesota now, which we talked about this with Mile Y enthusiasts, that we were talking about that we wanted a Minnesota sweep of the Royals. Now it's the opposite, I think. Now I think you want the Royals to sweep the Twins. Because if the Mariners can get a couple of wins here, then, good start with the Friday, you got a chance to make that 2.5. Now, it'd be nice if the Diamondbacks could also help you out. But the wild card looks just as likely as, well, I'm not going to go just as likely because the Mariners actually play the Astros, right? They have those 3 games that they control. But it's the same thing. You're 4.5 back of one team, you're 4.5 back of the other, and there's no teams ahead of you. Detroit will have the same record as you. It looks like they were winning the last time I checked. Go Athletics. Hopefully they can win that game. But you're basically just in competition with those 2 teams right now. And sure, you hope Kansas City doesn't play well down the stretch too. But unless they're playing the Astros or they're, yeah. Same thing for Minnesota. So there's 20 games to go. And I was thinking about this. Maybe this is a little too, I don't know what the right word for it is, but let's just go with it, right? The Houston Astros have 21 games left, as do the Minnesota Twins. I think it's realistic to expect one of those teams to go 10-11 over their last 21, which means that the Mariners would have to go 15-5 over their next 20. It's not impossible. It's certainly not impossible. It's just asking a lot. Playing 75%, in the NFL, that's a 12-4 record. And I just realized they don't play 16 games anymore, but that seems a lot more realistic than in baseball, and I don't even know why I brought it up, but it's possible. It's just not terribly likely. Now, if Houston was to go 10-11, then the Mariners only need to go 14-6, as long as one of those wins is against the Astros. It's not impossible. It's very unlikely, but it's not impossible. And what this is, again, I know this is the positive section. It's so frustrating to think if they just played average baseball for a 2-week stretch there. Oh, you're feeling so much better. But there's nothing we can do about that other than complain about it. I'll end this video with my thoughts on the Jerry Dipoto decision. Widely reported that he's coming back. The first thing I have to say is I'm not surprised at all. The second thing is, for those people who are happy that Jerry Dipoto is coming back, happy for you. For those people who are mad that Jerry Dipoto is coming back, I feel for you. I would have made the change. It's nothing against Jerry Dipoto, the person. It's everything to do with the fact that this is 10 years now. Now, I will readily admit, if Jerry Dipoto, and the Seattle Mariners make the playoffs and have a nice little run here, cancel everything I said. I think that, here's the main thing, takeaway for me. I don't think this decision should be made right now. Unless you've seen enough of a sample size on the bad. Do you see what I'm saying there? I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it's the worst decision in the world. And I will say the one positive that comes out of it for me, and my buddy, I have to give my buddy Eric Nussbaum credit for this because it's not something I thought about, but I thought about it a lot since. If the Mariners made a change, there's a good chance they enter a rebuild. And I can't deal with another rebuild. I don't have proof of that, but it happens a lot with new regimes. It's possible they could have brought in a Dave Dombrowski type, a Pat Gillick type, who was there to shed prospects like crazy and build a winner. And I would love to see it, to be honest with you. But there's also a lot of times where you bring in a new guy and they say, we got to start over. Doesn't mean you trade everybody, but you take steps back, and I'm not here for taking steps back. Nope. Can't do it. What I can do is ask you to hit like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching so much. Appreciate all my MyOY enthusiasts. It's $4.99 a month. We're going to have our updated top 15 prospects going up next week. We'll have another cool video coming up pretty soon. A whole bunch of cool stuff. I'll have a card to give away. Already have given one away. I have another really cool one that I'm going to give away. I've given up a bunch on this channel, but from now on, those giveaways are going to MyOY enthusiasts because they are supporting the heck out of me right now. So thanks again. Good win. Can they go 15-5? Maybe.